What's up, guys? Hey, so I did an episode last week with Adam Whitney, and I want y'all to pay attention to the beginning. It was pretty cool because there was an impressive resume. He had done over 300 flips. He was involved in 10 plus different venture avenues and just an amazing stats. And when I read him off at the beginning of the episode, the first thing he said was, "Man, I hate listening to those stats." But I want to talk about that real quick because Adam Whitney was one of those guys that cared more about leaving a legacy than he did about those stats. And so I feel like if more people were like that, this world would be a better place. And so you can tell in this episode how genuine Adam Whitney is and how much he truly cared about leaving a legacy and about just setting up a solid foundation for his children. So guys, I hope y'all enjoy this episode. We had an awesome time talking, and I just hope y'all can see that a lot of these multi-million dollar real estate companies owned by people like Adam Whitney, they're genuine people and they care more than about the dollar. So guys, I hope y'all enjoy. What's up, guys? Hey, this is Justin with the Gold Nugget Podcast. Today I'm here with my co-host Austin Wilder. This is the second episode. We got Tyler and Micho here. Today we have a super awesome guest speaker with us today, Adam Whitney. He has an impressive resume. Last year when we were at Flip Hacking Live, when he was up on stage, the question was asked, "Hey, please raise your hand. We want to see how many people Adam Whitney has helped." Over 75% of the room raised their hand. That's just the type of person that Adam Whitney is. A quick resume, bear with me. He's a husband to Jennifer. He talks about how that's the foundation of his life. He's a father. He's been in the military since 2004 as a Marine. He's a multifamily syndicated with ambitious capital, 6 rentals, limited partner in mobile home parks. He's a general partner in 134 plus units. He's done over 300 plus flips and wholesale deals with Blackjack Real Estate, which now he's the CEO of. He's coached 200 plus other real estate investors and agents with 7-figure flipping community, daily reader, obsessive learner, impressive resume. When we hear somebody with stats like this, we tend to ask all the wrong questions. We want to pick their brain and we want to find all the secrets. Well, the issue is, what if I told you there was no secrets? The issue is a lot of times we already know what to do. Average entrepreneurs do every single day what great entrepreneurs, I said that quote wrong. Average entrepreneurs do every now and then what great entrepreneurs do every single day. And that's who Adam Whitney is. He's a great entrepreneur who puts in the work every single day. And there's a quote that Adam said, and I don't even know if you remember saying this quote, but I heard you say this back in 2020 through social media. You said, "When I latch down on something, there's no other option but to win." To me, when I pick somebody's brain, I want to know more about that, because the way he sends direct mail or the sales script, that's not near as important as having a core principle of there's no other option but to win. Whew, that's a impressive resume, Adam. We're thankful to have you here.
Man, I'm so blessed to have an opportunity to be on here with you guys today. You guys are awesome. I hate to hear the resume read. It's terrible. I don't want to hear that.
That's okay. Everybody listening does.
Yeah, I'd rather just talk to you guys about, like how other people can be successful and how, the reality is we're all pretty ordinary folks. The difference is who's willing to do the extraordinary actions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So absolutely. I know we're all probably the same way. We start hearing stats and we shy away, but I'm telling you, I guess that's what catches people's attention. But, I want to start with, we had mentioned a quote earlier before we hit the record button, but I'd said knowledge is everywhere and people are drowning in information right now. We don't lack information. We lack wisdom. We lack experience. You're a big part of the 7-figure flipping community and coaching a lot of people. And I know you've mentioned everybody's got the same playbook, but why are people suffering and not taking action, Adam?
Yeah, I think you gain wisdom through experience. The obvious answer to me is certainly fear. I think it's hard to envision what's on the other side of whatever it is that's stopping you from doing it. And when you've never really pushed the boundary of fear, it can just turn you away. I think for me, just having military experience and, being in Iraq in the early 2000s, and, that's a different kind of fear. That's a different kind of boundary that most people don't even get the opportunity to push. And when you've been able to kind of be there at the edge and experience those kind of things in your life, you just realize how minuscule so many of these other perceived problems we fear are. They, at the end of the day, like, nobody's shooting at you. All you're doing is spending a little bit of money, trying to be a good entrepreneur, trying to be a good leader. You're probably not going to get dead doing that. So it's perspective. And I think the other part too that we talk about that you mentioned, Justin, is, folks lack wisdom. And the problem with reading those stats at the beginning is they're like, oh man, that guy's got it figured out. It's going so well. But the truth is it's not. It's never really figured out, and it's never really going as smooth as you want it to go, no matter how quote unquote successful you are. But here's what I do know. What I do know is in the military, before I ever went to a combat deployment or did something that was extremely high risk, I got a whole bunch of repetitions and practice. And through those repetitions, I built skill. And as my skill grew, I was more successful. I was better at what I was doing. Things started to feel lighter. So I know the only way for me to get good and be where I want to be is to get those repetitions. So these folks who are like they're on the verge, they really want to change their life. They really want to kind of step outside of their comfort zone, maybe step away from the 9 to 5 and build some legacy wealth, and they want to do real estate or whatever it is. It's just that little bit of fear they have, that getting out of their comfort zone. But once you do and you start going and you start learning and it starts to feel lighter, you just have to build the mental resilience to get through the parts where, man, I'm working through some serious issues. And then what you find is you're like, I actually love this. There is nothing more rewarding. And I'll give you one parallel and I'll shut up, but there's nothing more rewarding than putting a crushing 100-pound pack on your back, wearing full military uniform and having to go for a 15-mile hike, and your shoulders hurt and you're tired and it's miserable. It is, I don't care what anybody tells you, it's a miserable experience. But when you end that hike and you completed that, and I'm telling you right now, most people on that hike are thinking about quitting in their mind. At some point, they're thinking about, maybe I could just roll an ankle here and get in the medical truck, or like this, maybe I'll just be the one who stops. And you don't want to be the one who stops. But you've defeated yourself mentally. Your brain is trying to tell you this pain is not good. You need to stop. But once you complete that hike, the euphoria of that, the belief that you have in yourself of what you're capable of is exponential. It's the same thing with entrepreneurship. Once you take the jump, once you work through all the challenges, and there will be challenges, you build that euphoria, that skill, that confidence, and it's incredibly meaningful. And then you start to crave it. What else can I conquer?
Yeah, I love definitely a couple really good points there. The one that I think people miss out on the most was, you had said that, the more reps you developed, the more skill you got. And I think that to kind of dive into that is a quote that really I like is, the person who hears the information is not the same person who implements it. And that's something that I didn't truly understand until I went out there and I started putting in the reps, and then I got told no by 50 different sellers. And then I'm like, oh crap, that doesn't feel good. And so in order to, we get these playbooks and we want to go in and implement it. And then we think that, we think it's we think it's sexy to have those stats, but then they don't realize the person that you become when you're achieving those stats is way more important than the stats itself. The stats are just a byproduct of who you are, Adam. And I know there's a lot of people out there that they see those stats and they don't look at what's truly important. And I think what's truly important, like what you just said, Adam, is the ability to put in the reps over and over and over, getting through the boring monotonous of just putting in the reps. Because I'm telling you, if you've closed 300 plus flips and wholesale deals, that was just repetitive tasks done every single day over and over and over as you've scaled up and just getting through the monotonous, the boringness of getting on the phone, making the calls, and just going through that over and over. And I think that's a point that I'd love to dive into is people lack the endurance to keep pushing through. I think that they get excited about learning the information. They get the chills and then they apply the information, and then all of a sudden they lose that excitement and they stop. And I think like you said, Adam, is being in the military, I think you've developed another skill that a lot of us don't have, is that endurance to just keep putting in the repetition over and over and build that skill. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think that part is honestly like it's a mental resilience piece where you're excited, right? You're motivated. Motivation is a fleeting feeling. Like you're only motivated. Think about your entire life. You're only motivated for moments in a day, moments in a week, moments in a year. It's a fleeting feeling. Sure, capitalize on it when you are motivated. Do the thing you're motivated to do. But the real growth comes when you're not motivated. You start motivated, you start executing, and it gets hard. That you have to embrace that. Like, this sucks. Like, I'm not enjoying this, but I can see what's on the other side. I know what my goal is. And I believe if I continue to take this action, I will get there. And it's part belief, it's part resilience, it's part endurance, like you said. And you have to build that muscle. Like, you will not get there if you don't build that muscle. That's like just the truth about it, right? Like, you see Elon Musk sending rockets to the moon. Like, that guy has been through the ringer. Can you imagine having a multi-billion-dollar company that at any day could go under and is not profitable? Just 3 or 4 years ago, everybody was saying like, oh, Tesla's a train wreck. Like, that company's going to go bankrupt. Can you imagine the weight of that? We're worried about losing 10 grand on a flip. Like, this guy's worried about going under on a $4 billion company at the time, or however much it was worth. And he didn't stop. He didn't fold. He didn't go get a different CEO. He just kept doing. He had such a strong vision, strong mental resilience. He kept doing the thing, and now he's the richest man in the world.
Man, I think it's so cool you bring that up because, like Justin was saying, or like you were saying, motivation is temporary. Discipline is lasts forever. So if you get yourself in those monotonous routines, those every day doing the same thing, or 5:30 a.m. calls with Justin, for me, getting off of work at 2, then real estate for 4 hours, like just those monotonous details every day, being a father, being a husband, all that's going to amount to, you look back and you're like, man, I just grew this business to a multi-million-dollar business. It's a root because of those monotonous, day-to-day tasks. So, Joe Rogan said it perfectly. Anyone can have motivation. Discipline is what people lack.
Yeah. Spot on.
But Adam, so let me ask you this. So, the whole premise of our podcast is to take these small, golden, actionable, tangible items that any person can apply in personal life, business, spiritual, whatever it is. And so in reflecting on what we just talked about, that type of discipline, motivation that it takes, what do you apply? What do you do? How do you stay in that mindset each and every day, knocking out these little tasks?
Yeah, I think if I think about me right now, I love the challenge. I love the hard stuff. I love the process. Because I've been on the front end of the process, and then I came over the mountain, and then I put myself on the front end of a new growth process. I love the process, right? And sometimes the result on the other side of that mountain will surprise you. It's not even what you thought it would be. It opened up other opportunities that you couldn't even have imagined when you started. So I think really just focusing, understanding where you want to be and having that strong kind of passion for it, like you truly want it, and then just focusing on the process. One other point is for anybody, like it's a muscle. You don't just go, man, that sounds like I'm motivated. Adam motivated me. I'm going to go do some hard stuff. Like you need to commit to doing hard things in your life. There is a connection between mind, body, and spirit in your life. And when we think about mind and body, we, as entrepreneurs, we're thinking about doing business, taking a risk, things like that. I mean, mind and spirit, we have a belief, we have a faith, maybe. And those are things that are kind of core to who you are. But there's also a connection to body. When we talk about body, like go do something physically hard. I guarantee it will translate in your life. I guarantee it. Go do something, commit to running a marathon. You never ran before? Commit to running a marathon and go do it. I guarantee it'll change your life. It will not just physically. The physical is the easy part. It's what it does to you mentally. It's crazy. It's like hard to wrap your mind around, but I'm telling you, there's a mind, body, and spirit connection. And if you can commit to doing hard things, I promise you, you're going to be a better person for it.
Yeah, we had that quick realization a couple months back in our company because Justin primarily deals with our acquisitions, that we have, and we were talking about how we felt physically and what we've been doing physically, and we realized there is a direct correlation to how Justin feels to how many deals we get on a regular basis. And so we were like, before you even pick up the phone, hit the gym. Like, don't even try to get a deal under contract. Go run a mile. Go, hit the bike. Whatever you got to do, and then go get us a contract because that's more consistent, for us. And we realized that, and when we did realize that, instantly deals just started flowing in.
Yeah, it's just kind of talking on that. I think it's with, let's see, Tom Bilo and Tony Robbins. If you go listen to that podcast, they dive heavy into the mind body connection. So I mean that's a whole podcast in itself, and it's definitely an important topic to hit. But they talk about so many great stuff in that podcast. So definitely go listen to that to dive into some more details on it. Go check out that podcast. But yeah, especially in our business, also in top, like my health, I've been working through that. We've definitely noticed a correlation to that mind body correlation, and going to do something hard. And that's actually something we're working on right now, trying to train for a triathlon and just have something to chase. Cause I feel like, a lot of people talk about work-life balance. Well, I think that the better you do in the gym, the happier you'll be at home. So just being able to correlate the two, I don't think that you necessarily have to put more focus on one than the other. I think that's limiting you when you think you have to focus on one over the other. I think it's about expansion, expanding all areas. The better you do in one area, you'll do better in all the other areas. And so that's my thoughts there. I think that's some really good stuff and diving into that. But Adam, something you said that I really love right here is love the process. Last year at Flip Hacking Live, Nick Sanantosio, I probably said that name wrong, but he had said a quote. He said to keep going until you produce a result, and let that result change your limiting belief about yourself. You talked about going up the mountain, and sometimes there's a result there that you don't even realize that result's there. What I see, and especially being in the military, you've probably gone through that. In the seven-figure community, we talk a lot about the hero's journey, going through that cycle. Who goes through it the fastest? Those are the people that are going to succeed. And so what I'm seeing, Adam, is you've probably gone through that hero's journey 10 times more than the average person, and that's why you love the process. I think just chasing that, and you've produced so many results that you now have an identity tied to, I am somebody that achieves, I'm an achiever. But sometimes you don't get that achiever mindset until you produce the result, connecting that to yourself. I know I just kind of rambled. I don't know how to tie that into.
Yeah, well, listen, Justin, two things real quick, because I think this is important. To your biggest enemy is expectation. I'm not talking about accountability or responsibility. I'm talking about expectation. Your mind puts an expectation on what that looks like on the end of the road. I'm going to set off to do something. At the end of this, it's going to look and feel a certain way. Subconsciously, your mind has that wired in. Those expectations are your enemy, because the minute you feel like you're not going to meet the expectation, your mind tells you this is no longer worth it. Stop. This pain is not worth it. You have to be able to execute without expectation. I'm not saying execute without plan or accountability, or I'm saying without your personal expectation, because that literally is why I see people like, well, I thought I would do this. Like, have you ever heard someone say, well, I thought it would be like this? It's like, no, that was an expectation you had in your mind. It's hard. It's hard. I said it, you didn't hear it. It's hard, right? The other thing is the balance component. Man, I feel so strongly about this, because probably the number one question I get asked by people is like, or statement is, I don't know how you do it all. Like, how can you be an active duty Marine and, do stuff across 7 businesses? How is that possible? It's like, my mind just says, I don't know. It's just like, I just do it. I don't know what you're talking about. Like, I just do it. And I've also, I've been told multiple times, like, do you have balance in your life? You need balance in your life. It's like, no, we are balanced in our family. We're balanced. We may not be balanced, micro balanced in the moment. My wife might be upstairs or in the trenches with the kids right now, thinking I need to get my butt up there and help her, right? Like, we've all been there. But over time, if you look at our family unit writ large is balanced. I provide, and my wife cares like nobody else. She's incredible. Our family unit is balanced. Me personally, do we have a 50-50 like marriage, right? You guys know what relationships are like. It's not 100% scale and you go 50-50 in. You have 2 people going 100% in. That's how it works. Yes. Right? If your expectation is I do 50, you do 50, you're going to have problems. Like, that is a recipe for problems. Your mind needs to be, I'm going to focus on what I control and be 100% the best I can be. And her mind should be the same. Balance doesn't exist, I think, how people expect it to.
Yes.
Absolutely. I think people expect balance of like, I do 2 hours of work, I spend 2 hours with my kids, that's not how, and you have different seasons of your life, and that's just reality. Your kids have different seasons of their life. They're monsters till the time they're 4, and it's chaos. It's just controlled chaos all the time, and then they start to become like, they listen, and then they become teenagers, and then they get all kinds of other like, you have phases, and that never stops. Your whole life is just a series of phases. And balance looks different at every component. When you look across your life, you just think about, did I do the things that are important? Did I build strong relationships? Did I make impact? Did my family live a good life? Like that, those are, was I a faithful servant to God, country, family? Like, it's like those things, man. That's what matters. Nobody cares how many deals you did. Nobody cares about that. It's just like, what's the legacy you left? And that doesn't happen with like, from 8 a.m. I do my miracle morning, and then 8 a.m. I start working, and then at 12 o'clock I stop and I do this exact thing with my kids from 12 to 2. Like, if you do that, great. Like, that's awesome. Like, kudos to you, but it doesn't have to look the same for everybody. I get credit. I feel like I get criticized for balance all the time because I love what I do. I like genuinely enjoy it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's what I think the topic you just talked about is one of those hidden success metrics that people, like earlier in your intro, I talked about your stats, and sometimes when we see somebody's resume like that, we want to pick their brain, and what happens is we start asking all the wrong questions.
Yeah.
And I think that the questions that need to be asked is more on this stuff, because what little do they know is, for example, Adam, if somebody asks you, hey, what's the best direct mail technique? You can answer that probably in under 5 minutes, give them a action item. But man, this topic right here, that's what I meant, like, by, we're asking all the wrong questions like this. If you have this, what you're talking about, Adam, like if more people had that, then they would succeed more on the business side. Because like you said, it isn't really a balance. I think it's an expansion. If you expand in one area, you expand all of it together. It's just all commingled into. And the term, this is actually something I wrote down. It's called blissful dissatisfaction. And I think that's what you've mastered that a lot of people haven't quite mastered. They don't know how to live in a state of bliss, but also at the same time have a level of dissatisfaction of always chasing that next level, but the ability to be blissful in the current level. And so that's something that you've mastered, is blissful I can't say that word.
Dissatisfaction. Yeah. My wife would tell you I'm never satisfied. I don't know that I necessarily mastered it. I think it's just a flaw in my personality, maybe. But yeah, that's fascinating. You know what stats matter, Justin?
What?
I've been married for 19 years.
Yes.
All right. I've been in the military for 19, married. Actually, I've been married for 18 years. I take that back. 18 years.
Yes.
Okay. Like that stat matters. My son went from unathletic to, being able to hit 60% on his jump shots in our driveway this summer.
Okay.
My daughter is, 20% above everybody else in her class academically. Like those are the stats that matter. Mm-hmm. But all people see is like, oh, Adam's a workaholic. It's like, yeah, but we got it going on over here, man. These kids are doing good. We're setting an example for our kids on how money works, how entrepreneurship works, how there are other options than just the 9 to 5. And what we talk about the value of education a lot. My kids know college is an opportunity they will have afforded to them because of what we do today, because of what they're willing to put in for work. My son is invested in rentals with us. We're teaching him delayed gratification. He could have went out and bought some Pokemon card on Amazon with the $50 he had saved up from his birthday, but I put him into a dilemma. I created a dichotomy. I said, Alex, you can do that, and I'll let you decide. And you don't have to decide right now. You can either spend this money today, or you can take this money and I will give you $20 every month if you invest it for as long as we own the deal. And then I said, that's whatever the math was, that's $500 a year. That's, and we started, and I said, if you took that $500 and put it in, you got X amount back, you could be getting $1,000 a year and this much money a month. And then I put it in the context. I said, with, $50 every month, what could you buy? And he started talking about all the things he could buy. And he was like, comes back to me 2 days later and says, I can just see the struggle on his face. He's like, I think I'm going to buy that thing, Dad. I don't know yet. His young impulse is pulling him just to spend this money on this wasteful thing he won't care about 2 days after he gets it, right? And then I asked him a week later, I said, hey, you never came back to me. What are you thinking? And he said, yeah, I'm going to do the deal. And then the deal took forever to stabilize. And, maybe 9 months later, he gets his first $25 check. And this was recent, actually. Mm-hmm. And, in our house, he get 50% of his money has to go to savings. The other 50% he can spend. However, with a caveat to it, if he's going to spend money, he has to commit to what he's spending and wait 7 days to buy it.
And that's awesome. Leaving a legacy. That's literally what me and Tyler were just talking about right before we hopped on this Zoom call. Leaving a legacy. That's just so awesome.
And sorry to cut you off, Justin, but yeah, that's I'm passionate about that too, because I have a 2-year-old and I'm always thinking of different ways to set him up, because life is temporary. And so what you can pass your kids, what you can install in your kids, the standard, just the different tips and tricks that we didn't have access to when we were that age, or as we were growing up, because my dad, he served in the military, and just seeing him do odd jobs, 4 or 5 different odd jobs. And I'm like, man, and work until he's 55. I'm like, there has to be another way. So I went and got my education, but now I'm finding out there's, obviously other routes to go, but, setting up Maverick with a Roth IRA at 2 years old, giving him a USAA bank account. So that way, 20 years down the road, he's a platinum member and he doesn't even have any money to his name yet. So just different things that we can do along the way and still in our kids that we didn't have access to. And, like Justin said, we were talking about it earlier. It's all about your last name. What can you do to better your last name for the next generation? So it's a pretty cool topic you went into.
Tyler, I'll tell you this too, man. We want to teach our kids. We want to tell them. I want to tell you all the things I wish somebody would have told me. The reality is people all throughout your life have told you. You just didn't hear it. People all throughout your life have literally told you so many things that would have helped you succeed in a better way, and you couldn't hear it. And that's the truth. Where I'm seeing this in action today. It blew my mind. I posted these photos not that long, maybe a year ago. My son wrote a book about real estate and money. I kid you not. And it was so intelligent that I was like floored by it. And these aren't things that I'm like shoving down his throat teaching him. This is literally just from him watching your actions. Those kids are learning from your actions. They see what you do, and you can think about this in your own life too. They see what you do and they choose what they're not ever going to do and what they're going to do. And when you see them choose to do something that they could have only known from seeing you do, and they're doing it, it's the most satisfying thing you can ever imagine. It's incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. He's already like repeating stuff back to me. I'm like, where did you hear that from? Like, when did I say that? So it's cool seeing the different traits that he's picking up just from my actions and not, what I'm trying to teach him. Back to what we were saying earlier, it's with the routine. For me, it's a job and then real estate and then family time. Like it's a hard family time for 2 hours. And, a lot of dads are present, but are they really present, or what are they doing during the time that they have with their kids? So it's cool seeing what you're doing with your kids to teach them how to be prepared when they hit that 18 to 25 range where they can start making those decisions for themselves. So glad you brought that up.
Yeah, man. Those are the stats that matter. It's all stemmed from that part. Those are the ones that matter. In my opinion, those are really that's what you're really leaving behind.
Yeah, I 100% agree. That's awesome. Yeah, I don't have a kid yet, but gosh, just kind of living vicariously through Tyler. I definitely see it. It unlocks a whole nother level of leadership, just being a father and really, like I was telling Austin the other day, I'm like, man, I feel like Tyler he's on a whole nother drive than we are, just because he's a father and we're not. So yeah, I definitely see that. And man, it's so awesome hearing that. Man, I could talk hours about that stuff. Just kind of changing gears real quick, something you had said earlier that I wanted to hop back on before we use up our full hour was this is something that I've struggled with, but you said execute without expectation. And you can ask Austin, our first year in business, we tried to set a realistic goal, hey, 10 flips. And I was like, dude, we're going to do 50. I was like, we're going to do 50. And then we get to the end of the year and we maybe did 2. And then I just like beating myself up, like what did I do wrong? And so I know you had mentioned execute without expectation, but I wanted to dive into that topic for a few minutes because I feel like that's a common struggle of just realizing that, there's this book called The Gap in the Gain where if I had a goal to flip 10 houses and I only flipped 5, well, the correct way to do it is look at the 5 you flipped, learn from that, but you use the 5 you didn't flip and you learn from that also. So you just kind of staying in that gratitude state of when you don't meet your expectations. Can you talk a little bit about that and how do you apply that?
Yeah, I think when you think about that example you gave is your mind set that 50 flip expectation. Why? Because you had some of that fleeting motivation, man. And that's okay. Like setting that 50 goal is okay. Like set the goal. Set a good goal and go after it. I think that's okay. But I think that's what you're focused on, right? You're like 50-50. Then you hit the end of Q1, you're like, dude, we don't even have our first one under contract. We're failing. It takes the objectivity out. If you can separate the emotion and the objectiveness, right? When you have an expectation, it's emotion driven. You want that. It's an impulse. It's a thing that your brain is telling you it needs to get. Just like a cup of coffee in the morning for those of us who are addicted to a little bit of caffeine, right? You wake up, you got to have it. Your mind has to have that 50, but it may not get that 50. But you attach your emotion to it. Now it makes it harder to be in the game, right? Now you're living in the gap, and you emotionally start to feel drained. It comes out of your body. Then it shows up in your life. It shows up in your business. It shows up. Think about you do sales, Justin. Think about a sales rep, man. You hit a dry spell. You're out there doing your thing. You know you're capable. You hit a dry spell. It starts to mentally affect you. There's an emotion. It's like, oh my gosh, I'm not doing good enough. Am I worthy? Am I capable? You start to question yourself. That's what the expectation does, right? That's why we got to focus on that. I'm so big. I talk to my team all the time, like, just focus on the activity. Did you make the 100 calls? Yes, I did, but I didn't get a deal. No. Did you make the 100 calls? Yes, I made the 100 calls. Great. What are we going to do tomorrow? We're going to make the 100 calls. If we continue to do the activity, we will get the result. But take your personal expectation and emotion off of it. Take it off of it. We have a goal. We have KPIs. We're looking at KPIs over duration. We're not going to look at KPIs over, a week. All I want to see in the week is that you did the activity. Did you do the activity? Yep, we did the activity. Okay. Same thing for me. Like, I need to practice that too. Am I doing the right activities that I know eventually will get the result? If I'm doing them and I'm not getting the results, like, man, I need to just keep doing them. In fact, in my mind, I'm like, can I do more? Can I do more of the activity?
Yeah, I think to turn that into something that you can actually go home and implement. And I know this is something that you've talked about, is the lead and lag measures. A lot of times, like 50 flips is a lag measure, but what are the lead indicators that's going to produce that result? So something that's super tangible is like, I think what you had said, like, don't attach your emotions to the results. I think something that I've learned over the last year is like attaching my emotions to the lead indicators, my daily habits. So if my goal is to make 50 calls, that I make that, that's what excites me. I think getting more excited about those daily goals is what helps you fall in love with the process. The results are just going to be a byproduct. And then you fall in love with learning how to pivot. Because if you do the same results over and over and you're not getting results, then maybe you need to pivot and say, okay, well, these are my new results. And it's okay if you didn't produce the results, because now like I said, you're learning to fall in love with the process of pivoting and staying consistent with your daily wins. So if I had to turn it into something that you could go implement, is learning what those daily habits are and fall more in love with that process than the result, and just learn how to pivot along the way until you get a result. Is that how you would have worded, Adam? Or
yeah, think about this in your life too. Like, you guys all do fitness activities. There are times in your life where you're probably working out pretty consistently, to the point where if it's like middle of the day and you didn't get your workout in, you're like craving it, right? You're like, I got to get to the gym. It's like all your mind can think about, because you've created that habit in your subconscious, is like, what are you doing, man? Let's go. Let's get this endorphins going, man. And it's the same thing, really. It's the same thing in business. It's the same thing in any component of your life. That's what creating an actual habit feels like. When you have an actual habit and you don't execute, like, for some reason you don't get that thing done, that's your habit, your subconscious mind, you feel like, oh my gosh, I want to do the activity. That's when you know you have a habit. That's how I know I'm addicted to caffeine and coffee, because I wake up and I'm like, oh man, I need a cup of coffee, right? And when I'm like, right now, I'm not great. I have not been great in the gym. I'm like, nope, don't have time for that. Other components of my life are more important right now. That's just the way life goes. Like, none of these people on the social medias are perfect. They all ebb and flow. Life ebbs and flows. It's complex. We're humans. We are complex. Business is complex. There's multiple layers to it. There's activities. There's lead indicators, lag indicators, man. just do it. Just do the actions. Just move forward.
Yeah, I love it, man. That's some good stuff. That's another topic right there that I could talk another hour about. And I know looking at the clock, we've already been on for 40 minutes or close to 45. But man, just kind of wrapping things up. I do have three specific questions, kind of rapid fire, and then if we got anything else, we can go ahead and wrap it up because I know these are the conversations I could talk hours about, but just to respect y'all's time. And but man, one of the questions I'd like to ask, I'm, if it's a 10-minute explanation, that's fine. But what, just to kind of help provide the resources that have helped you along your journey, but who have you met, or what have you read, or what have you done that has helped you, get to the next level over the last 10 years of your life? Just however you want to answer that.
Yeah, I think there's kind of two components to this that we all experience. There's what I call the untouchable mentors. That might be a book that Tony Robbins wrote, and you're not like in a room with Tony Robbins on a peer level, but you're kind of following their stuff as one example. And then there's the what I call, the in-person, the close network mentors. And then there's things in between. The absolute most critical, I swear to you, I know it's somewhat cliche, most critical part of this is you see something you want to do, you go get yourself in that room with those people. Like, you have to do that. And it's not just this info marketing guru space where it's like, get in the right room. You're what do they say? You're the average of the 5 people you surround yourself with, something like that, right? But I can even tell you when I had the most success in my military career was between my 4th and my 8th year. I literally went to an organization where I was with people who were many ranks above me. And I was enlisted. They were officers. They'd been to college. I hadn't been to college, but they were handpicked to go there. And I got put into their environment, and my game raised so much during that time. My knowledge base raised, my desire to just be better and execute at a higher level. Like, everything was better because of it. Everything was better because of it. Same thing was true when it came to real estate. I, like everybody, just start consuming wide. You figure out who kind of aligns with what you want to do and your core values, and then you start to kind of like, all right, I listen to 20 podcasts now. I listen to kind of the same 3 over and over, and then that person's having an event, you get to their event, you go to their event, go to their event. It's good. They're all good events. All these people have good events. You go to their event and you start to get in those rooms. If those are your people and that's the thing you want to do, continue to insert yourself in those rooms. I'm telling you, that is the fastest road to getting to where you want to go, is to get around those people, because that helps you with belief too. When I get in a room with guys like Justin and I'm like, gosh, man, this guy's got these rentals, he's flipping these houses, like, I can do that too, right? You look at somebody, you go, man, I can do that. If you can do it, I can do it.
The law of exposure, that's what it is, or the law of proximity. I think that I was Austin kind of handles the finances side, and I don't like dealing with the finances. I just want to go close deals. So I'll sometimes accidentally spend more money than we need, but I have a point here. So whenever Vaughn opened up the Top Gun program, I was like, Austin, we got to join this. I got to join it. Austin was like, no, we don't. And I was like, yes, we do. No, I don't. Yes. And so I was like, finally got to the point that, we ended up joining it, and, we get into the group, and immediately, I was telling Austin, I was like, man, just the law of proximity, just being in this group. I had no clue what the goal was of the group. I didn't know what the content was going to be. I just knew that I wanted to be closer to a group of people, that law of proximity. And so I think that if you, like Adam said, if you can develop that ability to just get in the room regardless of how you feel, sometimes it's going to be a little intimidating, but just get over yourself. Just get over yourself and get in the room. And yeah, that I think that's a hack in life. I think that's a secret that a lot of people don't realize, is just being in a room next to people that are already doing that. Just watch where life takes you when you do get into that room. So yeah. But yeah, that's some good stuff. So I guess the other question I had, Adam, was what's something that, in this, I know we talked a lot about, the last 10 years of, kind of where you came from, but what's something you're currently learning, and what are some goals over the next few years? Like, what's something you're working on right now?
Yeah, I mean, man, I feel like I'm always learning, always learning. So right now it's all business for me, business focused. Once you build one business and you're like, the skills are not that far different. Maybe the widget is a little different. Maybe, I mean, it's all marketing, sales, and operations in some way, shape, or form, right? So it's like, how can I build other verticals to what I'm doing in real estate, which that's kind of where I'm at on my journey right now. Is my goals are to be completely vertically integrated. And what that looks like for us is not only do we have this acquisitions company where we're doing flips and wholesales, but I also opened up a title company, right? Because there are 40 people who make money off these every transaction. It's like, so I went and looked around, like, where is their margin, and how hard and how much effort are each one of these different things, and which ones align with what we're doing. Well, if I'm doing transactions and I can bring them through a title company, my goal was, all right, well, I'll bring a title company in. It's got decent margins and it's not, it's not expense heavy. So I've vertically integrated there. Built over the years a capital raising skill, for these deals, use other people's money. Got a lot of investors on the rolls, so went into syndications. It's all about team, right? Like, you're not doing any of this stuff by yourself. So I'm on a syndication team. We're buying apartments. Obviously, the retail agent side, Justin, that we're building out and trying to get this thing humming. So we have all options available to a client when it comes to residential real estate. We should be able to capitalize and participate in all the revenue and have the opportunity to serve our clients at the highest level. So we know based on the people we are and the people we surround ourselves with, nobody's going to serve people at the level that we are. There's very few other communities and people like the people we're around all the time that I get the sense operate at the same kind of ethical and high character level as our group.
Yeah, man, that's exciting. I'm excited to, I know, being in a 7-figure community, I've just the little bit that I have been here, I've already seen just you making level jumps. And so I'm excited to see where you're headed. Tyler, Austin, did y'all have any other questions before we wrap this up?
No, I mean, I was just gonna say it's so cool seeing that happen. Like, I heard a story a while back. I was telling Justin, there was a guy in Texas who owned a realtor or a brokerage. He owned a construction group, and he owned like a dirt leveling company. And instead of going out and doing all these different things, it just went from one domino to another, and he was making money with every single transaction. So it sounds like that's something similar you're heading towards, is getting every avenue closed off to where you can make money through every different methods. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, man.
That's awesome. Well, Adam, I know you sent me a link, and we can add that whenever we release the episode on how to get in contact with you. But do you want to tell the listeners how they can get in contact with you, or how they can add value to you if they reach out?
Yeah, for sure, man. Like, you guys can find me on all the social media platforms at Adam Whitney. I think Instagram's official Adam Whitney. Justin will drop a link, but it's just 7ff.7figureflipping.com/Adam. And that'll take you to my page if you want to get in contact with me or reach out if I can help you in any way.
Man, thank you for coming on today.
Yeah, we appreciate you.
Appreciate it, guys.